Hello dear students, welcome back again. This is the other lecture that will be added in the lecture series that's based on ancient history of India. We are approaching the end of this series as we are left only with I think 2 or 3 lectures more, okay? And after that we'll be done with the ancient history of India, okay? So this lecture is going to be very important base because this will be covering one of the most important dynasties that ruled India, okay? So for example, if we will take this region, this was discussed largely in the last lecture, which if we will imaginary divide into two lines, so this will be the part that was ruled by Chalukyas, okay, and this part will be ruled by Pallavas, okay, right? So we are done with this. Before that, we read about this part, okay, that is that's northern part, central part, and some eastern part of India, okay, and this part majorly was ruled by Pushyabhuti dynasty, okay, Pushyabhuti dynasty, okay. And this Pushyabhuti dynasty was actually, who was the major ruler and who was the major king? It was King Harshvardhana, okay. Now after the decline of these dynasties, Pushyaputi dynasties and Cholukyas, which was majorly ruled by Pulksen, Pulksen second, okay, as you can recall it, okay, Pulksen second. Now these two dynasties actually, after they decline, now this void was here left, okay, this void became in the central part of India and in the northern part of India, okay. Now this void has to be filled by someone, okay, and who was the dynasty that came here? There were actually three dynasties that came, okay. So this void that was left by Pulksen second, okay, who belonged to Cholukyas and Pushyabhuti. This has to be filled by three new dynasties. And who were these three new dynasties? It was Pala dynasty, okay, that controlled east. That was Pratihara dynasty, which controlled the western part, and it was Rashtrakoot dynasty, which controlled the central India, okay. And also after Rashtrakoot dynasty, there was another dynasty that was Imperial Cholas or mainline Cholas. Those we will discuss in the last lecture of this series, okay. That will be the last lecture that will be based on ancient history of India. Now, so today we are going to discuss about Pala dynasty, okay. So if we will view the timeline of this dynasty arose or emerged around 750 AD and it ruled till 1200 AD, okay, 1200 AD, or we can say simply from 7th century to 12th century, okay. So this was a long reign of this dynasty. We'll be discussing here the major kings that were here to attribute in this part of history, okay. Now if we'll discuss about who was the founder of this dynasty, okay, the Gopala is known to be as the founder of this dynasty, okay. And what is prominent about this Gopala, that he was a Buddhist, okay, he was the follower of Buddhism. And it is known from the historical texts that the major Buddhism or major branch of Buddhism that was prominent at this time was Mahayana Buddhism, okay, Mahayana Buddhism. And this Mahayana Buddhism is also called as it is called the greater vehicle, okay, and Hinayana is lesser vehicle, as you must be aware in the discourse of art and culture, okay. Now he was a very ardent Buddhist, okay, and he ruled over the we can say the eastern part of India, and the majority of the present states that it included were Bengal and Bihar, okay, and at that time particularly it was Magad area, okay. And this Gopala is attributed to be the first Buddhist king of Bengal, okay. So this is very important because some kind of peculiarities that arise in the historical context are again and again asked in the examinations, okay. So him being the first Buddhist king in the Bengal gives him a special position, okay. Now also there was a monastery that he founded which was located in Odantpur, okay, and this Odantpur is present day Bihar, okay. I hope you understood this. Now let's follow the quick succession of Pala dynasty. After the death of the father, that was Gopala, his son Dharampala came to rule, okay. So Dharampala is considered as the most important king of the Pala dynasty. Why? Because there has been the supremacy of rule during his time, because the Pala dynasty was most powerful during his time, okay, powerful most powerful in the sense that it had a huge territorial expansion, and the economical situation was on its peak, and it was almost formidable, okay. Now already told you that he was the son of Gopala, and why he's famous for other things, because he was very generous and kind, and he's supposed to have granted about 200 villages to Nalanda University. For what purpose? For its maintenance and upkeep, okay. So to run the expenses of this university, he actually gifted or granted 200 villages, for its maintenance. Okay, and also another important detail which we have to learn about Dharampala, that is about the matrimonial alliance which he had with the Rashtrakoot dynasty. Because again and again exams ask sometimes, was there a matrimonial link between these two dynasties or was there not? So how that link can be traced, that's very important. For example, Rashtrakoot dynasty is a kind of a different dynasty, right? But the link again is created through this princess called Rani Devi. Okay, so she belonged to Rashtrakuta dynasty, but this Rani Devi was married to Dharampala. Okay, and this is how there was a link between Rashtrakuta dynasty and Pala dynasty. Okay, now another important fact about him, Dharampal, is that he also founded some of the other universities that were mainly located in Bihar. That is Vikramshila University, Udantpura, and Somarupa University. Okay, so these were some of the universities that were founded by Dharampal. Okay. Now, this fact I have already mentioned here about that it was the supremacy, or it was the apex of the rule of this dynasty during Dharampala. Okay, and so due to his apex power, due to his legitimacy, due to his kind of legacy that he carried, so he took many titles. This Dharampala took many titles. Some of the titles that he was famous for was Param Bhatraka. Okay, one is Param Bhatraka, another is Parameshwara, and the third is Maharaja Diraja. Okay, the king of kings, right? Now, this was all about Dharampal. Okay, now we are going to move in the succession. The next king, that is Devapal. Okay, what's important about him? He was the son of Dharampal and Rani Devi. You know Rani Devi, that is the Rashtrakuta princess. Okay, so their son was Devapal. Okay, and what is important about him, that the most important fact is that Devapala is supposed to, or he is kind of credited to have defeated Rashtrakuta king Amogh Varsha. Okay, Amogh Varsha is supposed to be defeated by this Devapala, who was the son of Dharmapala. Okay, right. Now, also he is known to have extended his kingdom to the eastern regions of India that included present-day Assam, Odisha, and Kamarupa. Okay. Now, after Devapala, another important king was Mahipal. Okay. Mahipal actually. His contribution is that whatever territories that were confiscated or that were captured by his ancestral fathers, he actually maintained that supremacy over those regions. Okay, so he was able to kind of continue that rule. Okay, and he is also given, or he is believed to have also captured the region of Varanasi. Okay, Varanasi, which is present day Banaras. Okay, right. Now, after Mahipal, there was this king, that is Rampal, that is the next ruler. Okay, and he was, or he's supposed to have been the last able king from the Pala dynasty, because after Rampala, his son, whose name was Kumarapala, he was not that much of a potent man, and during his reign, his kingdom started to disintegrate. Okay, so whenever the kingdom starts to disintegrate, it is a clear sign that the kingdom is about to get kind of vanquished. Okay, now Rampala was the last able ruler, and after him there was this Kumarapala, in which the decline started. But the last king that was there, in which the kingdom was completely kind of vanished, that is Madanpal. Okay, who is supposed to be the last ruler of Pala dynasty. Okay, now apart from this real or quick section that I told you about, now there are some other important facts that are very necessary to be known as per the exam perspective. Okay, and I'll be throwing light on those facts also, because I don't want you guys to miss anything out of this topic, and I can't promise everything, but if there is something that I still miss, you can mention that, and I'll be definitely working on that also. Okay, now the most important fact, or the most precious fact that is about this Pala dynasty, that it was known to be as the golden period of or we can say the golden period in Bengali history. Why? There are many things that are attributed to this. Why the golden period in Bengali history? Because first thing, that Bengali language developed. Okay, Bengali language developed during Pala period, and also Bengali literature is also supposed to be arised from this very period. That for example, there is this work that is known to be as first Bengali literary work. Its name is Charyapada. Okay, Charyapada has, or is attributed to have been born from this period, that is Pala dynasty or Pala period. Okay, now, so this is one of the important attribute. Now, also that there is this Buddhist poet whose name is Vajradatta. Okay, this Buddhist poet Vajradatta, whose name is famous for his famous work, that is Lokeshwara Shataka, and his important work, and this poet, that is Vajradatta, he's also belonged to this period, that is Pala period. Okay, now another important fact about him, that sometimes the examiners confuse the kind of a student confuse the student by asking such integrate questions, but those are not actually integrate if we pay attention to the details in a much clear way. For example, the land grants were given by these Pala rulers. For example, the permanent land grants were given, and these were given to mostly Brahmanas, priests, and also temples. Okay, and these grants were permanent, means once the grant was given, it was not taken back. Okay, now, another important grant that was given to peasants, which is very important, is something unique that has not happened in past, that is Kaivartas. Okay, Kivarts. Kaivartas was actually the grant that was given to peasants. It was a land grant that is given to peasants. Okay. Also, the division of land is very important here in terms of Pala period, because there was only and there was this land was divided in terms of villages, and these villages were divided in only two terms. One was gramapati, that included one village, and its head was known as gramapati, and the other was dasa gramika was actually a person who headed 10 villages. Okay, so the head of 10 villages was known as dasa gramika, and the gramati was the person who headed one village. Okay, and these were the names given to the heads of the villages. Okay, and some of the other important things in terms of art and architecture that was very famous during the time of Pala period. First thing that was important was Pala school of sculptural art. Okay, the sculptures started to be emerging from this period, that was Pala period, and most prominent example is miniature painting. Okay, miniature painting. So it is believed that miniature paintings started arising from this very period, that is Pala period. And some of the most important creations from this sculptural art is Dharampala sculpture and Mahavira sculpture. Okay. Now another thing that is very important is the build of vihars. Vihars were actually those kind of caves that were used for rest purposes, and these were mostly used by Jains. Okay, Jains and Buddhists. Okay, and these were called vihars. Okay, and these vihars that were founded at Vikramshila and Udantpuri, which is based in Bihar. Okay, these caves are very famous example of art and architecture. Okay, and also there are terracotta figures and plaques that are very prominent, and the one of the finest examples of the art and architecture of the time. Okay, now the last point which I mentioned here is that the teachers that belong to Pala age, actually those were the teachers who taught Buddhism. Now they traveled to the foreign countries also, and while they were traveling, they kind of took their religious Buddhist teachings and spread them to the other kind of international states, and those states included Tibet and Sumatra. This is how Buddhism spread in Tibet and the part of Sumatra. Okay, so this is it in this lecture. I hope I have not missed anything. If I made any mistake, just do mention that in the comment box, and just keep working hard, because I know these lectures become very tricky because you cannot remember all these details, but this is possible once you revise these topics a lot of times. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next session.